Welcome to Sumbits, where we decode the PowerSchool development experience. Sumbits is brought to you by MBA. Let's start the show.
Welcome, everybody, to yet another episode of Sumbits. Joined, as always, with Eric Scheidel and Ryan Cockrum. For our viewers on the YouTube, you see our guest of the week is Nick Peronti, hailing from Illinois, just outside of Chicago. Before we get too far into it today, the topic of the day is, hey, I'm coming into a new district. What am I getting into? What do I need to look for? What do I need to do? Before we get into it, today, back to the whiskey after last episode. It's not a morning here, so we can enjoy a cocktail with you. I am drinking Woodford Reserve. Yeah, right. It's fancy.
Well, the bottle is half empty, so I understand there's zero.
Yeah, so it is pretty good. I didn't drink all of it today. This is a previous engagement, but what are you guys drinking today?
Well, Sean, you inspired me to try. I saw this on the shelf, and you mentioned Old Tub Reserve in a recent episode, and so I jumped on it. And Old Tub unfiltered, and I'm quite impressed. It's nice and tasty. Definitely full of flavor. Again, sure. Sean can speak more to it than I can, but I mean, definitely it's a full blast in the face when you're drinking it.
Again, if anybody wants to talk whiskey, find me in person, or you can email me at sumbits@mba-link.com. We can have a little chat. What about you, Eric?
But before I talk about what I'm drinking, can I just say how excited I am that Nick Peronti is joining us today? I mean, this man, this is what I refer to as one of my paint drying friends here. And that's one of those people that you could just sit and watch paint dry with, and you'd have a good time.
Oh, okay.
I'm glad
you were going to go with that. I thought we were taking this past PPP.
So no, not like if I needed my paint to dry, I would bring you. But Nick, it's just so good to see you, man. I just want to hug you, but this is virtual and we're in the middle of a pandemic.
I know.
So, I mean, I just need you to think about one thing is when this pandemic is over and we can see each other face to face again, do you want to be the big spoon or the little spoon?
Dude, I am your spoon. You know that. You know that.
Oh. You sweet talker. Okay, anyway, to the point. So today I'm trying to mix it up a little bit because I got the Old Faithful, the Spotted Cow here today. But I'm enjoying, I don't know if this is a thing outside of Wisconsin or if this is just a cheesehead thing.
Wait. Because this reminds me right now as I'm looking at it, like in Dumb and Dumber when they put the turbo lax in it.
Well, if I have to step away in a moment. But what you got to do is... I got the Zing Zang here. That's Bloody Mary mix, and if you're it's the only Bloody Mary mix, and you mix it with the beer. So poor man's bloody.
Interesting.
See, and here we are now with cross the border talk, and we'll get back to Nick here in a second. You guys have your Bloody Marys, which are fine. I've had a Bloody Mary, but they're not Caesars, and Caesars are a Canadian thing. And even when you go down to the U.S. And ask for a Caesar, either the bartender will say, "What the heck is that?" or they'll say, "Sure, no problem," and bring you back a Bloody Mary. Caesars are made with clamato, which is clam juice, and the tomato, and it's so much more flavor. Oh, so much better.
That's good.
You get them extra spicy. Throw in a shrimp or a bean or a pickle. Damn, that's how you do it. I mean, Bloody Marys are just like like American beer to Canadian beer, the weaker step sibling to the Canadian superior alternative.
Them's fighting words.
You're cut off.
Interesting. Okay,
moving on.
Yeah. So what's Nick drinking?
Okay, so I have a very exotic brew that I busted out just for this. It's called a Miller Lite.
Latte.
Say it's latte, right?
Latte. You can, I mean, where all finer beers are sold, you can get this.
I may have to look for it next time.
And then, just to kick it up a notch, I also have what's known as a handle of Jim Beam.
Attaboy.
Well, hey, Actually, what Ryan is drinking is a Jim Beam product.
It's a Jim Beam, but it's
Mine's bigger.
a kick in the ass.
I'm just gonna say.
But you could do some Boilermakers now. You got a beer, you got some whiskey,
Right?
You got some Clamato? Put it all in there.
Well, no, those are called. What is it called with beer and Clamato? That's a thing.
Something weird, I'm sure.
It is. Oh, why can't I? That's a thing that's up here. People love it. It's not bad.
It's cold up there. They need,
Yeah, that's
something
true.
to keep them
No,
going.
it's summer
Let's try everything.
Well, hey, let's rein it back in, Nick, for our guests for our viewers and listeners that have no idea who you are, which may be like 2 or 3 of them. Let's hear where you're at and how you got into PowerSchool. How long you've been in PowerSchool?
Where I'm at. Well, I've been, the first time I installed PowerSchool was in 2004.
You've been around a while.
Yeah.
It was version 4, and I installed it on a Mac Xserve G3, which was a beautiful, it was the first rack mountable Mac server. It was very exciting. I was, hired to do the networking stuff, and PowerSchool is just kind of like, well, you're going to have to do this too on the side because we don't know what the hell to do. You know what I mean? Like so many people have said on your podcast. And I don't know, I'm on my 3rd district now doing it. And this is the first district I've been in where it's kind of more of a focus. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. Yeah.
Whereas before it was more like I was the network dude that's also doing the database stuff.
The other duties as assigned.
Yeah.
The different hats.
Yeah.
For sure.
But
So you get to
That's
be
a nice feeling, though.
So you get to be inside PowerSchool a little bit more now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a bigger district, so
Gotcha.
it's a lot more.
It's a good feeling, though, right?
What's that?
I mean, it's a good feeling, though, given where we all are and what we all do. Like, that's always been my kind of goal. It's something that I always wanted to get into more of the full depth, because I came from a small district where exactly that. It was one of the hats.
Yeah. No, it is cool to have a bit more focus, but I was always really big into scripting and hardware and all that kind of stuff.
So the last 2 districts you've come into already had PowerSchool?
Yeah. And you may not, well, I don't know, maybe you know this, Eric, but the district that I'm currently at, I took over for someone that you guys know called John Dunleavy.
Oh,
I'm familiar with him.
Well,
I'm
not
pretty sure
directly.
I
I take it back. Not directly. John bought PowerSchool to this district back again, 2002, I think is when they got it. And then in between him and me was another gentleman who I could make fun of for days, but it won't. De Guzman, if you're out there, if you're watching this. But yeah, so I've done this a couple times, taken over for people. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, I think that lends itself really well to our topic at hand today.
Mm-hmm.
When a lot of times, when you say, you're now at a district where you are the PowerSchool guy, that doesn't always exist in districts, as we all know. So a lot of times with turnover, we end up with people that either, don't have a lot of PowerSchool experience, or even if they do, again, as we all know, everybody does things a little bit differently. And that's what we want to talk about in this episode is, you're coming into a district that has PowerSchool. What are some of those hurdles? What are those some of those issues that you find yourself trying to deal with? Again, as we all know, PowerSchool is touted as the SIS that is, highly customizable. A lot of people have taken advantage of that. So a lot of times you're coming into a district that have customizations. As someone, in our capacity, that's one of the first things you're going to look at is, what customizations are there? Where did they come from? Were they written in-house? And so, yeah, that's kind of what we want to talk about today. Coming into your most recent district, was there any particular challenges that you came across, in those first couple days? and no is an acceptable answer.
No, yeah, no, it was. There were challenges. Don't get me wrong. I'm just like, how deep do I want to go? Because I know, Mr. Dunleavy might see this, but no,
We'll all assume that the issues were a result of the interim between Dunleavy and Peronti.
Dunleavy didn't ever write bad code.
Just say that. Truly.
It was just too lazy of an approach, and now you had to figure out how to deal with it is the problem.
Okay, well, I will say, I'm going to say I pity whoever comes after me if there's a person after me.
Yeah, I understand that sentiment.
Like, there's a lot of in-house built stuff that's just, I don't know.
Half done.
Well, I will tell you one thing. They are going to get a kick out of the comments and all the code. I comment the crap out of the code. Like I'll even go off on tangents where I say why I have to write this and why I'm so angry about writing it and all this kind of stuff. And so that's my legacy is going to be in the comments. But
nice.
I was literally looking at some old code from when I was in a district today, just to reference myself on some stuff I'd done with Fusion charts in the past. And I don't even know why I gave this element this ID, but it was Mooncrow.
Say that one more time. It was
Mooncrow.
Mooncrow.
I typically I gave things like cow moo and monkey, whatever, but Mooncrow, I don't even know why I did that. It doesn't even make sense to me. So someone was looking at that, whoever took over for me at some point, and might have been working with it, and was like, okay, this jQuery is using the selector to access Mooncrow. What the heck is a Mooncrow? So this is perfect for taking over and coming into a PowerSchool role where you're like, now what? Because you could be coming in after me or Nick or Sean, not Eric, because he's all fancy schmancy pants. He went to school and stuff to become a developer.
Eric writes perfect code, right?
Tell your friends.
I salute you, sir. Yeah. But I wish I did, honestly. I wish I had gone to school for some of this stuff. I feel like I'd have a much better handle on it. You know what I mean? But
the rule to me is, though, I would say rule number one is take your time to actually read through the jargon. There, as far as the now what goes, I'm new here, now what? And if you're not a developer, if you have no clue, read through things and use your Control F. It's going to help you a lot more than you think, to be able to trace back a call to a function. If you're not, understanding of JavaScript and everything, or jQuery and things like that, learn how to search things and learn how to search text documents and JavaScript files and HTML files and go back and forth and figure things out.
I'm gonna take it back to a little bit of a higher level, because we've had in the districts I've worked for, we've hired, summer help. We've had college people coming through as interns and all this stuff, and people that want to be, geeks or whatever, do coding. And I think what gets lost on, especially a lot of, people that are highly technical, present company excluded, it is that, to do anything, not just to have a good time at your job, but to be productive and really get anything done, it's all about relationships. If you're coming into a district or any job, it's focus on that first, because you're not going to get anything done that's on your agenda. You know what I mean? So yeah. Really, it's about and you know what I'm saying. A lot of technical people, not so much with the people skills, that maybe not in education, but whatever.
Oh no. Yeah.
I don't know, but I would say that's a number one, don't be a jerk, and focus on the skills. But number two, other than the customizations, all right, let's save that for a second. Number two, and again, I've told people this over and over again. You come into a new district, do like a security audit. Like focus on that, like right off the bat. What you do first, dump like all the groups, all the roles, all the page permissions, like everything out of PowerSchool, and do an audit of who can access what. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you have like, I don't know if you guys, every district I seem to be at, we're using like LDAP and Active Directory. It's like, do that audit with the Active Directory guy if you're using Active Directory. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And make sure, like, here's one that I definitely dealt with, and this is why I'm leading with it, maybe, is inactive users. Like, how many people are still here? Yeah. Make sure that you don't have inactive users still like on there. And then
still got that principal in there that left the district 5-6 years ago.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Like do that first. Write up like some documentation about when you get new staff in, what's going to happen. When staff leave, what's going to happen? Whose responsibility is it? You know, I mean, where there's such a focus, especially in Illinois right now, around this like student data privacy law that's going into effect. But a lot of states are, you know, have these coming up on the
something similar anyway, yeah.
And it's like it's high time, you know. We got to take responsibility of this like student data. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Well, you know what? And you mentioned the security audit thing, and that just so since PowerSchool moved CPM and the system administrator to the whole new deal, that reminded me of a thing where I'd come across, you know, probably more often than anyone would want to admit. You remember in the system administrator, there used to be, and you could access this account also without logging into the admin portal, the default admin and password.
Yeah.
And I can't remember.
Manager, man. I probably shouldn't say that out loud, but nobody should have that anymore.
and it was almost, it was alarming how often I still could get into a customer's system with System Manager.
Yeah.
And that's a huge security hole there. So I mean, there's so for anyone listening,
was a default
that should
password is like I never understood, like, how could they have a default password for something like that? How is there a default?
And for anyone listening, this shouldn't be an issue anymore.
No.
If you're updated to the most, like, if you've updated PowerSchool within the past like 3 years.
Yeah, say it's been a while.
Yeah. If you in the past 3 years, if you've updated PowerSchool, don't be alarmed. But if you're sitting on an old version of PowerSchool, like from before 3 years ago, at least update it. Not saying that you have a security vulnerability there, but yeah, that was the thing. And so this goes, of course, beyond system manager, like you're saying, principal who hasn't been around for a while. But still, yeah, totally. I never even thought of that because I've never taken over the role of a PowerSchool administrator. I've only vacated the spot. So
yep, I'm in the same boat.
Well, that's, I mean, and people, especially, you know, coming into a district that has been using the longer they've been using PowerSchool, the more trouble you're probably going to run into.
Sure.
Because I mean, we can talk about customizations, but even on this side, like I'm like talking about security, you know, they probably thought about page permissions and groups and all that long ago. You know what I mean? And things have changed.
Yeah.
And so that's all I'm saying is it probably should do like a nice security audit first. Yeah.
So can I jump in here for a sec? It's you know, you brought in page permissions and groups. What's really kind of gotten me as I've worked with districts over the last few years, and even advanced PowerSchool users, is a lack of comprehension of how roles work in PowerSchool. And it's a relatively new feature in PowerSchool. Just the other day.
Not that new anymore. That's the thing. It's like, we're going on quite a while with roles.
I agree with Eric. It's relatively new to the whole scheme of things, but just to add a layer onto that, is that there's more than one way to skin a cat, so to speak, with roles and permissions and security. And that's, I think, one of the biggest challenges with PowerSchool, especially if you're new, because you have the groups and you have the roles.
Right.
And that, I feel, is one of the biggest things to get your head wrapped around, especially if you don't have a clue.
Yeah. So I was just looking at a district 2 days ago. And they're like, people are doing stuff they shouldn't be able to do. So I'm digging around and I go, well, typically Group 9 is your administrator role. I know it can differ from district to district, but in the many districts I've worked with, Group 9 is typically the admin role, which has the God powers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they had a role created tied to Group 9. And it's just well, what's the point? Why would you put anybody in that role? Just put them in that group, because Group 9 can do everything. So if I say, well, you're in a counselor role, but I want you to be able to do this thing, and it's tied to this role, well, you might as well. What's the point?
Yeah.
Understanding
that was somebody's quick fix.
Does Group 9 have the ability to use Data Export Manager and Import Manager?
Well, not everything. Fine. There are roles that aren't tied to groups that come out of the box with PowerSchool, right?
But there's the reason why you would tie a role to that group, is what I'm saying.
No, but that's just it. When roles were introduced, I don't think it was such a great professional development around how these relate to groups and why you would or would not want to tie them to groups. Generally, not a great idea to tie them to groups. They should be their own thing. What I mean? That's just the way that I think it should be set up.
And I think that's the confusing part, is that it seems like there's two different ways to manage security, but no.
They're related though.
Exactly.
They do different things and they both have their uses.
But they can do the same thing, which is part of the confusion, right? They can do different things, but they can also do the same thing.
But a lot of I've seen it both ways. I've seen districts who go completely one way or districts go completely the other way. And really, for a good security, you need a blend of both, because you need roles for the field level, which you can get with groups, which is great. I mean, the architecture around roles is actually really amazing, what's been done inside of PowerSchool. But that doesn't limit you specific pathwise. You know what I mean? You still need page permissions for if I want to limit access to DDA or limit access to any of the system functions or any of these things, the roles does not do any of that stuff. You're still relying on a page permission type of thing. And that's why I say dump it all out, focus on least access, you know what I mean? And kind of build up from there, and it's painful at first. This goes back to the whole, form a good relationship.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing.
Because I have to do some painful stuff.
Yeah, and honestly, part of that for me, I love the fact that you brought up the relationship piece. And I think a very important piece of that is not just focusing on, well, I'm the PowerSchool administrator. The only people I need to be worried about are the principals or the deans or the registrars. You're more than likely, more often than not, you're the best people that you can get in with to really understand how PowerSchool is being used in the district are going to be your secretaries.
That's not even a secret.
They're in it all day, every day, and those are the people that you need to be in good with. And
secretaries are the keys and the gears to any school division. Don't ever diminish what they do, and don't ever put them aside, because that is where everything is done and figured out and processed through. And frankly, if you try to downplay it, toodaloo, get lost. You're done.
Right. Eric, I don't want to leave you hanging. I mean, obviously, this is a tough subject for you because you haven't actually worked in a district, but you've worked with a lot of districts over the years. Is there, that you have something that we don't have Whereas me and Ryan have basically only worked with a single district. Nick's on his third district. You've talked with dozens over the years. I'm sure you've ran into people having particular issues that they're coming into their district. Is there anything that sticks out in your mind?
Yeah, one thing that's interesting that comes up in my mind is when someone comes to me and they're like, all right, and this maybe actually isn't so much I'm brand new or I inherited, but it's something that someone like Nick Peronti, I bet, has already addressed within his district. But maybe it's somebody that's been there for a while or somebody that just came in and they go, we've got all this stuff out there. I got all these pages where I see string key not found. I got missing features and missing links. And we got so much stuff here in custom page management, and maybe it's sprinkled in custom page management and the custom web route and a little bit of both. And I don't know what I'm missing. So I've literally had folks come to me and say, I need an estimate from you to come to my system and convert all of my customized pages to properly using page fragments.
I just wrote a query for that last
customizing
week.
the core page. Right. Say again?
And I just wrote that query last week.
Oh, right. Remind me to come back to that. But when someone asks me like, can you tell me, give me an estimate for taking my system and getting things converted? I was like, no, I can't. Absolutely not. It's so hard.
Well, you can, but it's almost got to be factored into the time that you're going to give them just to figure out the time. Like, you got to say, it's going to take me some time just to do that based on, and here's the query I've got. You run that query and then you get X amount of returns. And basically this query I've recently written will return back all customized PowerSchool pages that are not associated to a plugin. So,
well, that weren't installed by a plugin.
What's that?
Assuming they're in CPM.
Assuming they're in CPM, yes. You're totally right there. Yep, that is an absolute 100% correct statement there. And but the point is that like if I get 500 returns on this, I can assume that it's going to take a good chunk of time for me just to figure out, I'm going through this, how long it's going to take me to get all this into page fragments. If I get 10 results, I can honestly say it'll take a lot shorter chunk of time.
Can you though? Because you don't know what those are.
No. I'm saying once you look at them. Now, I'm just saying 500, that's 500 files you have to look through and find. I mean, let's just be honest. Even if it's one table row per file, you still have to deal with one table row per file. It's, even you can still write a generalized jQuery statement with just pop in an ID and then put in some slashes for the returns, but nonetheless, you still have to do that 500 times.
I've been, like I said, took over for a couple people, but before, when I had less children and way more time on my hands, I used to do a bit of. Is
there a strong correlation there?
There is. There is. We can talk more about that, Eric. I used to do a lot of consulting for other districts, and this was kind of like a common theme where it was like, can you come in and just have a look at all the custom junk that we have and sort it out, update it, you know what I mean? So I'm very familiar with what you're talking about, Ryan, and honestly, that's where, again, I know you've talked about Blue Steel a million times on this here Sumbits, because
I'm glad you're a listener.
I'm not just a guest here. Okay. I'm also a listener. And that's where one of the first things I do in those situations is install the Blue Steel, sort for stuff that isn't part of a plugin, export the whole thing out as a zip, which is amazing. You know what I mean? And then once you have all of that, now see, I'm spoiled because in every district I've been in, I've hosted my own server. So I always just go.
That's huge.
I just go to this server. You know, I could always go to my server and download the original custom web root. So then I have, you know, and then I just do a diff between the two to see like what it is and do it. And I don't know what show it was when you
just quickly. That's an important thing to point out, is that having the ability to hold like your own hosted server, huge compared to having to deal with hosted.
It's fun, you know. I mean, but like I said, I'm a network dude, so I've been doing servers forever. Point is like I have a little bit of a bone to pick. You had an episode with Schmirschen on, and
there it is again. We still haven't gotten through an episode without.
It'll be every episode.
I'm just gonna throw it out there, and y'all Windows users, you know, like putting down the Mac people because they're not on your show and everything.
I never put the Mac people.
Right?
I have no problem with Macs.
You know, whatever. We don't need your validation. First off. Second off, if for your Mac viewing audience, because they are out there and they were disgusted by that episode. There is a beautiful piece of free / if you want to pay for it, pro software called BB Edit. It's been on the Mac forever. It has the best diff engine, just hands down. So I use a different, like when I develop, I use a different text editor, but I always go back to BB Edit for stuff like this. Like I want to take two directories, compare them. It's like, it's the best. Okay. So that's what so when we get to like customizations, you're coming in there. That's what I say. If you can get an original custom web root, you know, from like an install, it's just so beautiful to have a program to just go through and just show you the difference between like the customizations that you've downloaded from theirs versus what the original are. And then you start going through, do you need this? Is this something we need? You know what I mean? If not, it's gone. And honestly, that in my experience doing this consulting, that's most of it. It's like, we don't even know why that's there. We're not doing this anymore. We get rid of it.
Yeah, it hasn't worked since 2012. I don't know why it's still on there.
I do. I've got kind of a two step situation when I like identify all of the files that are customized that don't belong to a plugin. Then the first thing I would do is identify all the ones that I can group together, like by file path. Like, is it belongs to a certain vendor or not? You know, and chunk them together. And then, exactly like you're saying, every group, I could talk to the person, do you need this? Do you still need this? And then that allows me to like literally just take a whole chunk. Done. You don't use that one anymore. There's 100 files that I don't need to worry about. Like,
use it.
So one thing when I've been dealing with people, especially if you're hosted, that have issues going on with customization, and they'll say, yeah, I don't need that anymore. And I go into CPM and I delete it. And then I refresh the page and it's not gone. Or worse yet, it looks different, but it's still customized. All right. So those who may not know, those of our listeners who may not know, when you ask for a page from PowerSchool, there's a hierarchy. The first thing it's going to do is look in CPM. And I'm going to leave a couple things out here for simplification. First thing it's going to do is look in CPM. The second thing it's going to do is look in your custom web root. And if it doesn't find it in either one of those places, only then will it look to the core web root. So what happens is when you delete something from CPM, oh gosh, now it's got pinstripes on it because it's way back customized in the day. I got a version of that file in the custom web root too. I encourage people to use what I call the rip the Band-Aid approach. And I tell them, you know, if you're hosted, what I want you to do is I want you to call PowerSchool Hosting and tell them, send me a copy of my custom web root and then get rid of it.
I like that.
And I want any one of you to push back on me if you disagree with
I
it.
like that.
No,
Rips
just
the
when you
Band-Aid.
said rip the Band-Aid off, I was like, my mind went completely somewhere else. I don't know. It's the booze talking. I don't know.
Well,
All right, fair enough. But you get rid of that, and I tell them, look, if you have a tool, or if you're smart enough to do the Peronti method and use your BB Edit, I use something called KDiff, which is a free download for people who use real computers, although it might work on the fake ones too. But it does the same thing where I can take two folders and compare them.
I thought we were going to.
Hey, in Nick's defense, Macs do things as well. They just do them twice as expensively.
yes.
Whatever. Unix underpinning. You know what I mean? It's as solid as it gets. I mean, you guys, every other day, it's a 0 day. Oh, look at that. Oh, yeah.
I'm just saying, Nick, when we finally see one another face to face again and you look into these baby blues, you will be the spoon, regardless of how much I upset you here today.
I know. Stop it.
Eric, I am going to push back a little bit, just a little bit.
On the spoon or on the KDiff? What are we pushing on?
On the ripping of the Band-Aid, getting rid of all of it.
Well, you're probably wrong, but please proceed.
There are still people that, more often than not, you'll find that within 15 minutes of doing that, someone's going to call and say, where did that screen go? Even though it still had pinstripes.
You have a backup.
And now me to push back to that. So yes, I agree that's going to happen. But I still agree with ripping off the Band-Aid, because you got to find out who's going to be calling back.
And that's why I call it ripping the Band-Aid, because it might hurt a little.
Yes, yeah. I agree. I'm somebody who likes to go by, like, what is it? Trial by fire. That's it. Trial by fire. Absolutely. Just see what's going to happen. I mean, even in my own province, when it came to new PowerSchool updates, all I did was, the second a new version came out, boom, install it. And then everyone would wait for me to see what broke or what didn't break. But I was whatever, I'll figure it out. And if I have to stay till 2 a.m,
I just want to say, you guys hired this guy. I don't know. Like, you hired Mr. Fire and Forget. That's all.
Well, to be fair, it's only because when we talked to you, you said you weren't available.
Oh.
Yeah, well, you said I couldn't have a Mac, so I was like,
well, actually, that's not true, because I would have got a Mac if I had wanted to lower myself to that, but I gave it away and went onto a Windows again, because my predecessor was on a Mac.
So
I guess my point, Eric, is my hesitation on it is, again, going back to, if we're talking about that person that's just now coming into a district, maybe doesn't have a ton of experience with PowerSchool, maybe doesn't have that customization background, that may put them in a situation where, they have a copy of the web root, but are they going to have the skills to get it back on? And if it's something that they do want to update, do they have the skills to do that?
And so that makes a great point, right? Because the last thing I want to do is make a suggestion that's going to lead somebody to doing something that is going to make them want to get a lawyer and sue Sumbits.
You can reach Eric at,
rip the Band-Aid, assuming that when you get that phone call, hopefully you have some idea. Maybe I'll get 10 phone calls over the next week, or maybe I'll get 10 phone calls in the next 5 minutes. Well, if you know enough to know you're going to get 10 in the next 5 minutes, then maybe this isn't your approach. But, if you have some idea and you have a comfort level with, I can take the backup that PowerSchool Hosting sent me, and I can merge that back to CPM, then I think that's a valid approach. But certainly it's not across the board. Yeah. For sure. Good point, Sean.
That's what I'm here for.
The Canadian still doesn't know what he's talking about, but you're
I will say, though, overall, it's very rare at this point now, though, that I feel like the web root comes up. It still comes up. Don't get me wrong. It's still there. But
it's becoming more rare.
CPM has been around long enough now that the web root, the custom web root, isn't as much of a factor as it used to be.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Unless you're like some guy's trying to hold on to the past, like Eric.
Just can't let go.
You know, I don't get it. I have I still use the custom web root.
I know you do.
Ronnie, I want your take on this.
Yeah, I mean, you bring it up every episode. It seems
He does.
I do, but you know what?
Because he can't let go.
Am I that predictable? I'm just saying that I still see even on our dev servers, I see this pink guy over here. He's still using blue
Eric,
steel.
No. Eric is still on MySpace. Let's put it that way.
He's still friends with Tom.
No, when I want to get in touch with my friends, I just go operator. I don't need your interwebs.
You should broadcast in black and white. Yeah, no, man. It took me a long time to get off the web root because, like a lot of people, I liked to develop and then just do a command and send it straight up to the web root and have it be instant. But you know, I think it honestly was blue steel that made me switch. And I'm like, yeah, and honestly, I still do my text editing outside of blue steel, and I'm putting stuff in there. But I just like I like the idea, you know, I'm hosting my own server, so I'm in charge of all the backups and everything. And I like the idea that all the custom stuff is inside of the database. You know what I mean? I think that's cool. I stopped using the custom web root eventually. You know, I still kind of miss it. I do like the whole shortcut and like, boom, it FTPs it right up in there. And no problem, you know, but.
So, I mean, just a tad off topic, but do you ever, like with your own customizations, do you build them as plugins and install them that way? Or is it all basically through Blue Steel? Yeah,
you know, I like to, I'm going to tell you guys because you're my closest friends, but I'm not really, I'm not a programmer, but I just play one at work. You know what I mean? Like
you just announced that.
Yeah, you know. To the interwebs.
So we'll make this. We'll make this part private.
You know. No, I. It depends on the thing. If it logically like coalesce into like a plugin, I'll develop it as a plugin, and I'll put it in Git, and I'll do that whole thing. But maybe 50% of the stuff that's customized is not in a plugin. Still, you know what I mean? In the stuff that I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's all just I'll just manage it outside of there. You know what I mean? Because
so you mentioned Git. I actually have in any of the districts that you've come into, has any of the predecessors been like, here's my repository?
Yeah. No.
Which is like an expected answer, right? But
it's kind of like the opposite of
exactly. Do you feel like that's something that should happen?
I mean, in an idealistic world, of course, yeah. It'd be awesome to like look at like the whole chain of events that happened with a certain thing, but especially in environments like education, where in my district, I am the person that's doing any of this stuff, period. Yeah. There's not a team, you know what I mean? Really, Git was just like my own little playground, you know what I mean? I host it on like my own Synology. You know what I don't even like. So no, I don't see most people are not using Git.
Well, just everybody also, so everybody knows on a side note, when it comes to hosting, this is the guy behind sumbits.org.
I don't know what site.
No, it's not. It's .us.
Oh, sorry, sumbits.us.
I want to say .us was on sale for $10 that day. So you've never in the show gone into this, really?
Well, I feel like
we've actually explained ever in how many episodes have we done why we call this show Sumbits.
This is the perfect time to do it, really.
Yeah, I think Nick Peronti should do it.
Yes. Who else?
This became a very special episode.
Yeah.
Okay. So I didn't think I was going to go into the origin story here, but you know how if you're someone of like my age, you kind of grew up
22.
being like, you grew up being like, man, you're just kind of depressed you didn't get to go to Woodstock. You know what I mean? So,
Woodstock 2000?
No, the original 2000, the original. And but I can happily say I was there when Sumbits was hatched. Like when it
I was
happened.
wondering where you were going with Woodstock.
I was there, okay, when Sumbits happened, okay? Eric is up there presenting. I mean, who knows what he's presenting, right? I mean, it's just all blah, blah, blah. I don't even know.
It was something epic. I'm pretty sure.
I'm sure it was something wonderful.
It was Acme. It was Myrtle Beach.
It was Myrtle. We're in Myrtle Beach. It's beautiful. You know what I mean? We're all trying to learn something, but Eric's up there yapping. You know what I mean?
There's some cases of beer and some whiskey going.
Sure, there might have been some of that. Who knows? You know. But I don't know. Eric's going away, and somebody points out the fact that he misspelled the word submit on a submit button. You know what I mean? And he spelled it as some bit. And it was like this eruption happened. Like the skies parted and everyone was like comedy just descended on the room. You know what I mean? Because you can go so many ways with some bit.
Oh, for sure.
So anyway, so while he was, I want to say like within 15 minutes.
Sorry, I'm just stuck on eruption.
Yeah, well, right. Yeah. So within 15 minutes of that mistake, I went out and purchased a domain, sumbits.us, because it was, like I said, it was on sale for $10. And, I got to
correct you there in case anyone's looking it up right now. It's not plural.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sumbit.
Yeah,
thank you.
The plural
because there's like
some bits
5,000 viewers right now looking up Sumbits.us.
Right, and it's going to crash because I run nicktech.org and the Illinois Pasuggle website off my little Linux box that's right over here on my desk, and it will crash if you all go there right now. But anyway, so I made that site just to keep the joke going, and let people submit.
Oh my god!
At the conference, I make little forms so people could put their own up in there and everything.
You did some updating.
What?
You've done some updates.
Oh yeah. Oh well. I mean, I was pretty happy with you guys named.
Everyone seeing my screen right now?
You know what I mean? That's what I'm talking about.
Well played, Mike.
Well played.
I love the tagline that you have at the top, by the way, that says origin.
That's right.
Yes.
Right.
So I'm going to read it out loud because I thought this was precious. And you even captured the date. This is great for history.
I'm on the floor now.
On May 3rd, 2018, Eric misspelled the word submit while presenting to a bunch of code monkeys.
Yeah.
I will note that you, sir, Nick Peronti, were one of those code monkeys, hence the existence of this site.
There.
And then below that, it simply says the result was comedy gold.
It was beautiful.
No one could have put it better. I mean, it seems like a rather innocuous mistake, but not in front of a bunch of code monkeys.
No. It's and we I want to say we laughed about that for another few days. You know what I mean? So
I'm going to say years.
Okay, years.
It's now major fun time production all over the internets.
Well, it is.
We're almost 3 years after.
I'm just quoting you. I'm quoting your website.
Yeah, is that what I say on there? I can't say I update that website very often. That website, and can I just say that website is from the very early 2000s, and it was when I was trying to learn Dreamweaver for my first district, so that I could
run me like a pony.
Hey, those aren't mine. Other people submitted those. You can put one in there. Go ahead, Ryan. But if you go to archive.org and look at that site, man, it was back when Google was a baby, there was no customizing PowerSchool. If you didn't, you know what I mean? Back in those days. So that site I kind of threw up as like a pet project because I was just to host Apple scripts that I was writing because I was really into like Apple scripts. And it got big at the time because I had written an Apple script that automatically took like a bunch of AppleWorks documents and converted them to Microsoft Word. You know what I mean? And it just like exploded from there. I know.
First of all, let me interrupt and say, no, I have no idea what you mean.
Well, I'm just saying so
what you're saying is you're kind of a big deal.
That's how it got big. But I had another script on there that was a whole suite for backing up PowerSchool if you were running it on a Mac server. It was a program.
So if you were insane.
Yes, correct. It was beautiful. It had an interface that let you like put in all your settings, and it set it up, and it would copy the database either off-site to an AFP server of your choice, or it would write the entire database to a burnable DVD, so you could take it with you, like on a schedule. It would write it on a schedule to a burnable DVD. This was the days of 4D, gentlemen, when it fit. And it was beautiful.
on a
and I used to take them off-site. That was the off-site backup. I used to take the DVDs with me.
Your drawer at home.
At home. It was called, and it encrypted it too. Encrypted it and then wrote it to DVD. And it was I called it COPS. It was, what did it stand for? It was copy. It was like
Copy of PowerSchool.
It was off-site PowerSchool backup. It was like,
jeez Louise.
That was that site. Now it doesn't do anything, but all that was on there.
Well done, my friend. Well done.
Wow.
Thank you. So now we know all the origins.
Yeah.
I appreciate that story.
Anytime.
Backups have come a long way.
That's it.
the Nick's drawer.
I have no idea, man.
I remember how excited I was the first time I got a computer with a CD burner in it.
Right?
Best.
You remember that? Like now,
and now you got to get used to computers that don't have CD-ROM drives at all.
At all.
Right?
Well, now if I was going to buy a laptop and it had a CD-ROM in it, I'd be like, well, what do I need that for?
Yeah,
Right.
but it took you a while to be like, I don't know, it doesn't have a CD-ROM on it at all. I don't know if I can deal with that.
Well, this is one thing that that new PowerSchool people coming into a district don't have to worry about, and that's a good thing. But I do think that's unless you guys have anything in particular that you want to get back to, I think that's a good place to end the episode. Nick, it's been a great time, man. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Eric, Ryan, we will see you all next time. Ryan?
It's been a pleasure.
Next time on an all-new Sumbits, we head into the world of SQL and demystify it with Adrian Carlson.
Oh, nice.
We will see you guys next time. Again, shoot us an email, sumbits@mba-link. Give us your thoughts. Give us episode ideas. If you ever maybe want to be on the show, let us know. Until next time, take care, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye, friends.
Adios.
Thanks for joining us, and a special thanks to our subscribers. Consider becoming one today. Enjoy more episodes and learn more at mba-link.com.